For writing your second lab report, you're going to want to start off with consulting Blackboard. There's a folder on here called Lab Folder Number 2. And with regards to when this report is due, my notes show that it's due that October the 25th. It's a Sunday in the evening. Pulling it up, double checking. October 25th, 11:59. All right, so it's going to take some time to do this. You have to give yourself the time. Take advantage of the time you've got now to be able to do this. You know, the skills and the ability to spend time reading what's included in here is not only going to help you get a good grade, but you'll learn more about how to write and how to be an environmental health scientist. All right, so with regards to what we've got on here, we've got the rubric. All right, when you click on the rubric, it's going to open up an Excel file. We'll show you how you're going to be graded. And a few things that are on here, you know, the appearance and styles. You want to have all the sections there. Abstract, intro, methods, results and discussion, conclusions, references. With regards to the introduction, if you want optimal points here, you should have at least 5 reputable, peer-reviewed, and government sources. Not what's in mywire.com, not even EPA.gov. If you're going to cite the agencies, you have to cite their technical reports or cite the peer-reviewed literature, okay? You're going to be a scientist here, so we don't need to be citing the websites when we can actually go to the actual technical reports. So you're going to want at least 5 for optimal points on that section, and you want to cite them and paraphrase them correctly. If you do less, you're going to get less points. All right, for methods, you know, just pretty cut and dry there on that. The results and data presentation, you don't want your tables to be split over multiple pages. They should fit on one page. Tables should also have information about them before they appear in the text. When we get to the results and discussion section, it shouldn't just be a table magically appears or data are in table 1 below. There should be some information about that table. There should be some text about it that talks about where the results were higher or lower, or were they higher at the upper depths or lower at the deeper depths, whatever. You should be talking about your results. The discussion section does these comparisons with any knowns or any standards. We're going to talk about how you can do that. The discussion also puts your results into context. What does this mean? What do the results mean? What are the potential impacts? The discussion section also gives you a chance to explain any limitations. The fact that this was only 1 day of sampling and that may not be adequate. There may be seasonal effects and so forth. So that's helpful information. The conclusion section, what goes into the conclusion section? You know, just a few bullets of what the most important things were, or a short paragraph. And then you're going to want to make sure that you've got good flow to your sentences, or, you know, maybe have somebody proofread it that can read for your grammar being okay. All right, so those are all the aspects of how you're going to be graded. Now, getting into how I grade the discussion, the results, and all that, and the introduction, it really depends on how well you integrate this information, okay? That will affect it. Now, when we pull up the actual template of the document, so there's a file here called Template for Nutrient Lab Report. You'll give this a title, okay? You'll give it a title, something like an assessment of the trophic state index at Wilgreen Lake, October 2020, or an assessment of the trophic state index in October 2020 at Wilgreen Lake, Madison County, Kentucky. Something along those lines. The names, the date, the due date. It got saved on my calendar that we agreed on as a class, be October the 25th. You know, so after you get this exam knocked out next week, you know, you're going to want to start focusing on writing this up if you haven't already started. There's a lot in this lab report that relates back to this section in which we're having the exam on Wednesday. And that's not Wednesday the 14th, that's Wednesday the 21st. Writing this up. We're going to write our abstract last. Don't forget to include your abstract, okay? We're going to do that last. You'll want to write that last. The introduction, okay? The introduction, remember, it's going to require several citations. You're going to want to cite journal articles here. Tell us why this is important. There's another file called Instructions for each section of lab report that gives even more details. The main purpose of this document here is to give you a template. So read through this template. You know, there's a more current one than this one. Here we go. I've got this one. This is the one that's on the web, the fall 2021. So read through this as you're making the changes. In your method section, you're going to want to discuss, you know, that the samples were collected at various depths. In the method section, you're also going to talk about which methods were used for assessing which parameters. If you don't know which instruments were used and it's not clear here, please see the other document. I'm going to show you that other document here in a few moments. With regards to the results and discussion, you're going to use this table. Before this table appears in your text, all this text up here should be discussing some stuff about what's in that table. The table occurs after, so it's referenced above its appearance. Also, the table does not break across 2 pages. If you have to leave a gap, leave the gap. That is okay. It's better to leave the gap than to have the table break over 2 pages. Okay, now with regards to what goes into this table here, you're going to want to write how these results may compare. You know, you could say the turbidity and the phosphorus and the ammonia were all higher at the deeper depths than they were at the surface. They want to say something about there was a correlation or a positive correlation between depth and total phosphorus levels. As we got closer to the bottom of the lake where the samples were collected at the dock, there was an increase in the amount of phosphorus in the water, and it was a statistically significant increase. Okay? So those are a few important things to consider. Nitrate was pretty variable, so you're not going to be able to make a lot of conclusions. Not really any other significant correlations with depth. We do have the mean levels here, the averages. Some of these we'll be able to take into consideration later in the discussion section. Also, in your results section, there's a statement in here about Secchi depth. Secchi depth was recorded as 0.32 meters. You need to have a statement in here about Secchi depth. And then, when you're writing about it, insert text describing, don't forget to give these tables headings, but you should then insert the Carlson's trophic state index values for total phosphorus. You're going to have to calculate this. There should be numbers here. These numbers should make sense. They should correspond with those tables or those figures that you've seen in class or on the videos. Okay, you can also calculate the trophic state index for Secchi depth. And if you're really excited, you can create another row and calculate the trophic state index for nitrate plus ammonia. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. We're going to talk about how to do that in the next video that I have on how to write this report up, okay? Your discussion section ought to focus on what do the results mean. Okay? Is this a eutrophic lake, hypereutrophic lake? How do the results compare to EPA reference values? I'm going to show you where you get those. It's really important for us to be able to put our results into context. We're not just collecting numbers and putting them on a piece of paper. Based off of these EPA reference values, based off of that trophic state index, score that you calculated, is there a risk for harmful algal blooms? If so, What impact would it cause? Is it dangerous for human health? Is it dangerous for fishing? Do toxins potentially have the ability to accumulate in fish? I mean, these are all questions. The literature is there for you. Don't use me in terms of my words. If there's any words you want to use of mine, use the stuff that's been peer reviewed. Don't quote my notes. Don't quote the lecture. If there's something you didn't know before this class, feel free to use the literature. I give you all the literature to back it up. All right, so for the conclusions, it should be a brief recap. And, this is an opportunity for you to impress me, show me what you've learned in this report, how to do this well. I'm going to stop this video, and we're going to go into more details about the really, really good stuff into each section. So I'm going to stop here.